So we're here to debate whether or not the U.S. federal government should pass the assault weapons ban of 2023. We're having this debate because it affects the safety of our communities. And for example, a week ago, a 16-year-old was shot and killed in Kansas City, and he ended up going to the wrong house, and this was used by an assault weapon. As well as the safety of today's children being in danger, minorities also face similar risks. The ban on assault weapons can help protect minorities who are the most likely group to be killed by the weapons. According to Warner.Senate.gov, the assault weapons ban of 2023 would ban the safe transfer, manufacture, and import of military-style assault weapons and high-capacity magazines, and other high-capacity ammunition feeding devices. The Senate 25 bill refers to assault weapons as a semi-automatic firearm that are designed for military use and quick, efficient killing. Most U.S. states define assault weapons as semi-automatic firearms with certain features such as pistol grips, folding stocks, and detachable magazines. The problem with keeping firearms such as these in use is the danger it poses to our general public safety. In the 12 years between 2009 and 2020, 1,363 people were shot and killed in the United States in mass shootings. 947 more people were shot and wounded. The reach of each mass shooting stretches far beyond those killed and wounded, harming the well-being of survivors, their families, and entire communities. Currently, with the use of assault weapons, 155% more people are shot and 47% more people are killed. With this, the firearm ban will reduce the violence caused by guns significantly. This ban will also ensure public safety by making it harder for people to commit mass acts of violence. Out of the 50 states, only 8 states currently have assault weapon bans in place. According to everytown.org, as of 2023, Texas and Florida are currently leading when it comes to mass shootings. It's these 2 states that also don't have any assault weapon bans in place. If we have an assault weapon ban, we will cut down the number of mass shootings significantly, considering the statistics in the individual states. With this, the safety of everyone should be our top priority when making gun laws.
All right. All right, whenever you're ready.
My name is Ray, and we will be providing the negative argument to the resolution the U.S. should pass the assault weapons ban of 2023. On June 23, 2022, the United States Supreme Court ruled over the case New York State Rifle and Pistol Association Incorporated versus Bruen. This case rendered one of the most significant decisions to be issued on the Second Amendment in over a decade, which is now known as the Bruen decision. This ruling struck down New York State's concealed carry law, stating that the law was unconstitutional. This law required an individual to prove proper cause for ownership before a concealed carry license would be issued, allowing that person to carry a concealed pistol or revolver in public. Before the passing of Bruen, the state of New York issued concealed carry permits only to those that met certain criteria. According to SCOTUS blog, the proper cause test requires applicants to prove that they had already been the victim of a violent crime in the past. The court held that this proper cause requirement violated the 14th Amendment because it prevented law-abiding citizens who have ordinary self-defense needs from exercising their Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms. Bruen also holds that the Second and 14th Amendments protect an individual's rights to carry a handgun for self-defense outside of the home as well. This decision protects not only the citizens of New York from threat of harm, but also ensures that the United States government is intentional about protecting people's rights that are laid out in our nation's Constitution. According to ABC News, there are over 400 million owned guns in the United States, and only 20 million of those guns are assault weapons. This means that the banning of assault weapons would prohibit the use of only 0.05% of the weapons owned by Americans. Citizens' right to bear arms is protected by the Constitution's Second Amendment, which states that a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Last year, the U.S. Department of Justice reported that most firearm violence, including mass shootings, homicides, robbery, aggravated assault, etc., occur with the use of non-assault weapons, like handguns. Between 1993 and 2018, 71% of homicides were committed by firearm, and 64% of these offenses were committed with handguns. The assault weapons ban would seek to illegalize the use of weapons that fall into the other category, which is a 35% minority. Since the year 1993, the consistent majority of offenses has been committed with handguns for an average of 74.7% overall. Another factor to consider is that these statistics cover the years 1994 to 2004, which was the time span of the first assault weapons ban. With consistent numbers in the handgun category, this proves that the original assault weapons ban did not have the impact it was intended to. These offenses are still occurring throughout major weapons bans, and because of that, it's safe to assume that perpetrators are attaining the weapons by illegal means. The banning of assault weapons will perpetuate the use and popularity of illegal contraband dealerships like the black market. According to Merriam-Webster's dictionary, the black market is the illicit trade in goods or commodities in violation of official regulations. If this legislation passes, the trade of these weapons would, of course, be explicitly illegal, and promoting a ban that would encourage the access to and use of the illegal black market is inherently anti-American. It's safe to assume that anyone with the intent to kill is willing to attain illegal weaponry by whatever means necessary. With this consideration, I have two arguments. First, anyone with the intent to harm another human has no alignment with the law. They don't care what their limitations are, and they will find a way to achieve their goal regardless. Therefore, the assault weapons ban will be unsuccessful yet again, as it was before. Secondly, if we place legislations on one's ability to own a firearm and infringe on this Second Amendment right, we're legislating Americans' free will and ability to make their own choices. In conclusion, our group argues that the assault weapons ban of 2023 should not be passed.
All right. Whenever you're ready. No, excuse me. Crossfire.
Yeah.
2 minutes.
You say that handguns are well, first of all, handguns are not part of the assault weapon ban.
Exactly. That's the point. Yeah.
So,
Since they're already being used so much more than assault weapons, those weapons will not be illegal with the assault weapons ban, so we should be focusing on weapons that are more commonly used rather than assault weapons themselves. I wanted to ask, you mentioned that minorities are most at risk. What's the source on that, and what are the statistics that back up that fact, that they're most likely to be victims?
I got the information from everytown.org, and the statistics. Hold on. Oh, Black Americans are disproportionately impacted by gun violence, as they experience 10 times more homicides. They're killed.
Homicide specifically?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Do you have any other questions?
How does the trial in New York regulate against assault weapons?
So the Bruen decision basically just kind of opened up gun laws in the state of New York. So it didn't specifically talk about assault weapons specifically, but it was about the use of any any firearm. So it kind of opened the ability for people to use firearms
Time.
more accessibly.
Okay. Second speaker. Whenever you're ready.
Okay. Everybody all ready? So we are here to debate that the U.S. federal government should pass the assault weapons ban of 2023 to ensure public safety. My first talking point would like to be that actually the 1994 assault weapons ban. Using the information from ABC News to recap, this ban was in 1994 was an assault weapons ban that changed the federal criminal code to prohibit the manufacture, transfer, and possession of a semi-automatic assault weapon, as well as the transfer and possession of a large capacity magazine which carried more than 10 rounds. With this ban, however, they specified certain semi-automatic assault weapons instead of outright banning them all. This, paired with the sunset clause, which allowed the ban to come to an end after 10 years, caused the ban to not be as recognized despite the good it was doing. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start, and this new assault weapons ban of 2023 is the next step towards the mission of public safety that the first bill saw. Which brings up my next talking point, the present assault weapons ban. This new ban of 2023 will strengthen the old one, which expired in 2004. The new one looks to ban all semi-automatic assault weapons and pistols that can accept a detachable magazine as well as at least one military-grade attachment. And by doing this, it helps seal the loopholes and workarounds that the old ban had going against it. It also covers the weapons that will be grandfathered in by requiring either a federal or state-approved background check. And with this, it prohibits the sales and transfers of large ammunition feeding devices, as well as imposing a safe storage requirement to keep these weapons away from prohibited persons. And you can find all this information on the website from the Senator of California, Dianne Feinstein. And for those who need a little extra convincing that the assault weapons ban has an effect on our country, we bring up the statistics brought by the Science Direct website, which has a study done that shows the effect that the 1994 ban had on the 3 deadliest cities in the U.S., that being Chicago, Memphis, and Detroit. This study was analyzed 22,000 gun-related homicides from 1985 to 2014, meaning it covered the span of 10 years before the ban, during the ban, and some time after the ban. And in this study, it's shown that the median number of deaths before the ban, which was a whopping 333 median, dropped down to 199 during the ban, and that shows a significant decrease in it.
Whenever you're ready.
Hi, my name is Stella, and despite the points brought up by the affirmative team, we still believe that passing the assault weapons ban would be an infringement of Americans' constitutional rights. A statement from BYU.edu says, many Americans argue that the assault weapons ban of 2023 is an infringement on America's Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms, an amendment that was originally written from a first-person experience of the Founding Fathers as they witnessed other nations' tragedies and civil unrest. The amendment was made originally to allow people to raise arms against the government if they found the need, for example, if the government became corrupt. Firearms of any kind have equal ability to protect as they do to cause mass casualties. The issue we are facing is not that guns are evil in themselves, but that people with evil intentions have such easy access to them. If the Second Amendment is changed, appealed, or negated, what happens to the safety and integrity of the rest of the amendments? Other amendments protect our rights to free speech and religion, speedy trial, reasonable punishment, citizenship, voting, and many other issues. Where does it end? The Constitution was created to protect the rights of Americans. If these rights begin to be taken, Americans' overall quality of life may be affected. These fundamental amendments were created to prevent that change. If we start revising them, what will protect us from the decline of the American dream? According to NPR.org, the 1994 assault weapons ban was enacted as a subsection of the Violent Crime Control and Law Enforcement Act of 1994, an election year package meant to show that Democrats were tough on crime, but when it came time to renew the bill in 2004, the Democratic Party lost all backing and the Republicans ruled to not renew the bill. Even after President Obama held office and the Sandy Hook shooting took place, there still wasn't enough support to pass the bill. In 2015 and 2021, the year with the most gun deaths and injuries ever recorded, Democrats proposed making gun trafficking a federal crime and increased penalties for those who buy guns for felons and others prohibited from owning them, known as straw buyers. None of these proposals passed. Despite the efforts to regulate firearms, there are multiple avenues for entrepreneurial crimes to bypass controls and traffic weapons across international borders. Therefore, even if the gun bans were to be passed, this would not stop criminals from accessing assault weapons through the black market. The dark web is an enabler for the circulation of illegal weapons already on the black market, as well as a potential source of diversion for legally owned weapons. The dark web is increasing the availability of better performing, more recent firearms for the same or lower price than what would be available on the street. The overall value of the arms trade on the dark web is estimated to be in the region of $80,000 per month, with firearms generating nearly 90% of all revenue. Due to the arms trade on the dark web, every month there could be up to 136 untraced firearms or associated products in the United States. We also saw this trend with illegal alcohol products spiking during the Prohibition in 1920. For these reasons, we argue that the assault weapons ban will be inefficient in keeping weapons out of the hands of criminals. This ban has failed in the past and should not be passed in the near future. Thank you.
Crossfire?
Right, so I'm just gonna mention, you mentioned the 2004 ban, but it was obviously unsuccessful in having that backing, which is why it wasn't reinstated. So what makes this one different from the first one?
So the big thing about the 1994 ban that makes it different from this ban is that that ban had a lot of loopholes and workarounds which allowed the destructive capacity to be reached just by buying attachments at things like gun shows and stuff like that, because technically that wasn't illegal. But with the 2023 ban, it states right here that it prohibits the manufacturing, transfer, and possession of sales of any semi-automatic assault weapon that has the potential and capacity to have a detachable magazine, pistol grip, or any other military grade attachment to it.
Okay.
The last ban did not have that. You said that allowing this ban to pass through infringes on the Second Amendment, but this ban isn't here to take away everybody's arms and anything like that. This ban is to just regulate the destructive capacity of them and keep the assault weapons that are being used in mass shootings and things like that over to the military grade style. I actually did some research, and it's very reminiscent of the Switzerland laws, except not to the Switzerland laws are actually a bit better. But what it does is it allows a background check, and a more extensive one, to make sure we're putting the guns in more responsible gun owners, so we're still keeping them in possession, and we are.
To touch on that background check, the Nashville shooting that just happened, that was a legal gun. He purchased that legally, he had the background check, and he obtained that firearm completely through the law, the right way, and it still happened. This can happen with handguns. This doesn't have to just happen with assault weapons. As we've seen in statistics, handguns are often used in mass shootings, which is what Ray was speaking about earlier. So even with these extensive background checks put in place, how is that really going to stop it?
I would like to. Time.
Mm-hmm.
Good job, man.
Third speaker? Kendrick? All right, whenever you're ready.
Yeah, I got you. Thank you guys, the audience, for coming out. Thank you, Judge. Much love to you, man. Thank you, my opponents. Without y'all, we wouldn't be here, so. Is my team ready?
Yeah.
Yes.
You guys ready?
So ready.
Audience ready? I know y'all ready. Judge, ready?
Ready?
All right, let's get started. So one point I would like to make is that the 1994 bill may be losing relevance in the gun debate because it expired in 2004. But why not advocate for a new assault weapons ban of 2023 that may alter the course of history? According to Everytown.org, in 12 years between 2009 and 2020, 1,363 people were shot and killed in the United States in mass shootings. 947 more people were shot and wounded. How many more do we need to treat gun violence before this becomes a public safety issue? The 94 bill banned more than a dozen specific firearms and certain features on guns because there are so many modifications that been made on these weapons, in fact, that it's not an outright ban on them. How many more loopholes do we have to go through before another innocent life is taken? Common sense public safety laws help keep guns out of places where they don't belong. They ensure that people who carry these concealed guns in public have undergone a background check and a gun owner safety. But many states lack common sense public safety laws that ensure core public safety standards are met prior to carrying in gun publics. So what is the problem? Why is it an issue? And when is this going to be enough? Another point I would like to make is that the percentages and the crime costs that with the gun violence, public safety have gone down and will drastically continue to go down if we pass this bill. According to the Vanderbilt University, researchers conclude that new research examined that cost of crime in the United States estimated to be $2.6 trillion in the year of 2020 alone. Everytown Research and Policy states that the economic cost of gun violence alone in the U.S. is $2.8 billion. The National Institute of Justice, Justice of Assault Weapons traces in the 1993 and 1995 through period declined 20% in the first calendar year in which the ban took effect. So from 4,077 to 3,268, it was a 20% decrease in the crime. Gun crimes were 11% down, gun murders were 10% down. So with this current bill in 2023 and passing, the percentage of the crime costs will continue to go down with the loopholes and modifications of assault weapons or semi-automatic weapon or handgun will be patched up. Another point I'd like to make is public safety and racism. According to the University of Chicago, American Harris School of Public Policy states that American has grappled with the impacts of persistent systematic racism on every aspect of public safety, from policy and sentencing, incarceration to reentry to violence and prevention. George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Alton Sterling, and so many more have all died due to gun violence and loopholes with assault weapons, semi-automatic, or even a handgun that are present that may be against the policy and foundation of what the public safety of our culture is surrounded by in the U.S. Gun violence is a leading cause of premature death in the U.S. Gun kills more than 38,000 people and causes nearly 85,000 injuries a year. That's according to the American Public Health Association. It's important to look at the public safety and racism associated with assault weapons and gun violence because each day, according to the Education Fund to End Gun Violence, more than 100 Americans die by firearms and nearly 200 are shot and injured. According to Everytown, Black Americans are disproportionately impacted by gun violence. They experience 10 times the homicide rates, 18 times the gun assault injuries, and nearly 3 times the fatal shootings of police or white Americans. The message is not sent to only the individual's victim, but every member of the historical vulnerable community is one in fear and hatred and all like forms of terrorism. And tears apart the social fabric that democracy is built on and which we cannot exist without. And my last point is, I'm going to touch in with the Second Amendment a little bit. We're not trying to take the basic rights away. We're trying to regulate them. So the Second Amendment states that as American citizens, you have the individual right to arm yourself. The amendment also firmly establishes that the government cannot infringe on that right. Around half of Americans, 48%, see gun violence as a very big problem in the country, according to the Pew Research Center survey conducted in April 2021. The importance of the Second Amendment is the ability to rebel against the tyranny government. The Second Amendment allows us to protect ourselves from the foreign and domestic attacks. With the Nashville shooting, the Uvalde shooting, this is not a tyranny government at hands. This is a mass shooter who have motives to kill innocent lives, innocent people, innocent children. That's not a tyranny government that we're going against. So let's see that 48% go down, 38,000 in gun violence go down, and let's make an impact. Thank you.
All right. Ellie, whenever you are ready.
My name is Ellie, and I'll be presenting the summary speech for the negative side. Like stated earlier, we believe that the assault weapons ban of 2023 should not be passed. Factors like the Second Amendment, the Bruin decision, previous failures of similar weapons bans, the 1920 prohibition, and the trends about firearms proves to show that this piece of legislation will become ineffective if passed. The assault weapons ban of 2023 violates the Second Amendment and infringes upon our inalienable rights. According to Congress.gov, the Second Amendment is a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms. This amendment was initially created to enable people to protect themselves from tyranny. However, today we interpret this amendment as an avenue to defend ourselves in life-threatening situations. Many supporters of the assault weapons ban propose revising this fundamental amendment. But once again, this raises the question of whether this will further jeopardize the Constitution and other similar amendments that guarantee the protection of our inalienable rights. The Bruin decision marks a constitutional change for gun laws. According to cornell.law.edu, Justice Brewer disagreed with the majority's history-only approach since judges lack practical knowledge and courts do not have the resources to provide clear answers to such difficult questions. The outcome of this decision shifted the perspective from relying on history to relying on analogical reasoning. The NYSBA further affirms the Bruin ruling by stating that it holds the Second and 14th Amendment also protect an individual's right to carry a firearm for self-defense outside of the home. This Supreme Court ruling additionally supports the objections behind passing the ban. The 2023 assault weapons ban will fail just like the 1994 weapons ban did. According to NPR.org, the 1994 assault weapons ban was proposed by the Democratic Party to reduce crime and to decrease gun violence. In 2004, the Republicans ruled not to renew the bill, and the Democratic Party lacked support to back their argument. This ban, also known as the Brady Act, was criticized because of its ineffectiveness and violation of the Constitution's Second Amendment. In addition to the ineffectiveness and infringement of the right to bear arms, the 1994 weapons ban allowed for the creation of a black market which did not reduce the spread of assault weapons, but only made them more lucrative. The assault weapons ban of 2023 will become ineffective, just like the 1920 prohibition on alcohol. According to the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, the ratification of the 18th Amendment in 1919 outlawed the manufacture, sale, and transport of alcoholic beverages. In January of 1920, the federal government further pushed this law by funding a prohibition unit which employed workers called dry agents to enforce the 18th Amendment. However, there are many records that prove that the American prohibition on alcohol caused more harm than good. In fact, PBS stated that the prohibition created organized crime in America, which allowed for criminals to make millions on the black market with the help of corrupt enforcement officers. With this knowledge, think about how passing the assault weapons ban could retrace an era of chaotic history. We really want to live in a country with more organized crime. Passing the assault weapons ban will not reduce gun violence since handguns account for much of it. According to the U.S. Department of Justice, from 1993 to 2018, on average 71% of homicides were committed with a firearm. However, the majority of firearm violence involved the use of a handgun. Approximately 7,600 firearm homicides were committed with a handgun in 2018 compared to 4,200 homicides that were committed by other firearms. That's nearly double the amount. The 2023 assault weapons ban will not decrease the number of casualties since it does not take into account that handguns are associated with greater victims than assault weapons. It's pertinent to think about other external factors not accounted for when discussing the ban on assault weapons. While many of us see the good intent behind the ban, it lacks the fundamentals to solve the ongoing issue of gun violence. Proven failures and violations of our inalienable rights demonstrate that we should not pass the assault weapons ban of 2023.
Okay, Crossfire, this one you get 3 minutes, so...
Can we call it timeout first?
Yeah, go ahead, you got 2 minutes. When this is over, make sure you sign it. I guess 20 seconds. Whenever y'all are ready.
Okay, I'm gonna jump right in. So you guys mentioned a lot about gun violence and how bad gun violence is, and obviously we agree, but that isn't the issue that's at hand. The issue at hand is assault weapons, and many of the incidents that you guys were talking about were committed with handguns or assault, or sorry, not assault. They were not committed with assault rifles, hunting rifles, handguns, things of that nature that aren't included in this current ban. So while those statistics are terrible, of course, and mass shootings are terrible, and all of these events, including gun violence, are terrible, most of these were not committed by assault rifles.
I would like to mention that in the Nashville shooting that just recently happened, how you mentioned that he shot those people with shotguns, I think you said.
I didn't. I mentioned that he obtained the weapon legally.
The weapon legally.
Yes.
He also had an assault rifle on him, and he didn't have any background, criminal, like bad background, so like he didn't use it, but he could have used it.
Exactly. So that was my point that I made earlier about what are the background checks really doing if he was still able to legally obtain that. He had no criminal record, he had never done anything wrong in his whole life, and then all of a sudden he decided to legally purchase a weapon with a background check and killed a bunch of people.
Well, what the ban does is it goes ahead and removes his ability to get a assault weapon of that destructive capacity.
Right, and of course that also is helpful, but like you said, he didn't have the ability to use that assault rifle during the incident, so then again...
I wouldn't say it wasn't the ability, it's more of a choice.
Right, and he
question-
didn't make the choice to use it, it wasn't used, so
And
whether he had it or didn't have it,
He was still going to commit that act.
yeah, and he used other guns that he obtained legally to do it.
That wouldn't
Question-
be banned with this ban.
Yes.
A question we'd like to ask is, what solid proof do we have that the 1994 ban created the black market, as was said through the third speaker?
We didn't
I
argue
don't
that it
think we said
created
that.
the black market, we argued that the perpetuation of the use of the black market is supported by obtaining illegal weaponry or illegal goods in any capacity. So the use of the black market would become more popular if these weapons were taken off of the regular market.
And your source for that was?
Boston University.
I would also like to ask, what does I know prohibition was brought up a lot, and I feel alcohol and assault weaponry are two completely different things. While alcohol was illegally purchased during prohibition, that doesn't have the capacity to kill on a scale that owning a semi-automatic assault weapon does. So I would just like to understand the correlation y'all were bringing into
The argument that we made was, the correlation is the black market. So that illegal good during Prohibition, alcohol was still obtained through the black market and through other kind of like illegal means.
All right. Affirmative, last speaker.
Okay, is my team ready? Opponents ready? Audience? Okay.
Uh-huh.
We are here to debate that the U.S. federal government should pass the assault weapons ban of 2023 to ensure public safety. Placing this ban will significantly reduce the overall violence in our nation caused by assault weapons by making it harder for the wrong people to obtain these destructive weapons. In doing so, the ban will reduce the statistics and number of mass shootings. According to Everytown research, in the 12 years between 2009 and 2020, there have been 1,363 people that have been shot and killed in the United States in mass shootings. 947 more people were shot and wounded. These numbers not only represent the lives that have been lost, but the number of families and loved ones who have had to mourn their deaths, carrying on with only their memory. These are the same families who are more than likely wondering why these shootings had to happen in the first place and if there's anything that could have been done to prevent it. The 2023 assault weapons ban is only the first step in taking control. It stands with the hope that it will decrease the probability of more families ever having to wonder such terrible things. Many who are against this ban are quick to bring up the 1994 assault rifle ban and use it as a comparison. However, the 1994 assault rifle ban is an inequivalent example of how the 2023 ban would do if passed into legislation. The 1994 assault ban, as mentioned by my teammate, that it had allowed for a lot of modifications and workarounds. And the 2023 ban will ensure that it's a better sealed ban that did not allow for loopholes and workarounds that would cost the safety of our public. Additionally, the 1994 ban was placed with an expiration date of 2004. This ban will be in law for as long as the U.S. government allows. The 2023 assault weapons ban stands to ensure our nation's safety and efforts to regulate the statistics. It will work to decrease assault weapon-related mass shootings, death rates, and crime rates. As mentioned, the Bureau of Justice Statistics says that the direct costs of crime include funding that must be provided by local, state, territorial, and federal governments to support law enforcement, the judiciary, and correctional services. And Everytown research and policy states that the economic cost of gun violence alone in the United States is $2.8 billion. The 2023 weapons ban will help reduce these costs by reducing the number of mass shootings in the nation. The 2023 assault weapons ban is not being pushed in legislation with the intention of taking away our citizens' Second Amendment rights. It simply stands to protect these same citizens by keeping these destructive weapons out of the wrong hands. Enforcing stricter restrictions and making it harder to obtain these weapons will reduce the likelihood of more violent outbreaks occurring associated with these assault weapons. Everytown.org elaborates on how using background checks at the point of sale is a crucial step, one of the many steps needed to prevent these dangerous weapons ending up in the wrong hands. Furthermore, protecting the nation's overall safety with the ban will additionally help close the gap of injustice with racial gun violence. According to Everytown.org, Black Americans are disproportionately impacted by gun violence as they experience 10 times the gun homicides. These numbers really add up. Racism and gun violence are two huge issues that our nations are dealing with, and I feel that the 2023 assault weapons ban will help close this injustice. Caring about our nation's public safety means taking the time to really understand the significance of the benefits of the 2023 weapons ban. It means comprehending that even though this is only the first step, it's a really big step in the direction of national healing. Caring about our nation's public safety means finally taking action and putting these restrictions into effect as soon as possible. How many more lives have to be taken before we finally decide that enough is enough? And how many more families have to suffer before we take action and create restrictions that will ensure our public safety? How many more families have to wonder if taking their children to school this morning is the best decision? And how many more families have to wonder if the loss of their children's lives meant enough to evoke life-saving monumental change in our nation? If the judge and the audience care and agree, you would agree that the U.S. federal government should pass the assault weapons ban of 2023. Thank you.
Okay, Olivia, can you hear us?
Yes, sorry, I was on mute.
Oh, no,
Yes.
you're good. Whenever you're ready.
My name is Olivia. According to the U.S. Senate, the assault weapon ban of 2023 would ban the sale, transfer, manufacture, and import of military-style assault weapons and high-capacity detachable magazines and other high-capacity ammunition feeding devices like pistol grips on these semi-automatic firearms. Stated by Warner State Gov, this action will consist of banning 205 different types of military assault weapons. This ban also falls under the grandfather clause, which according to Warner State Gov is going to exempt all weapons that were lawfully possessed at the date of enactment. This bill do not include 2,258 legitimate hunting and sporting rifles, as well as shotguns, by specific make and models. This leaves many different types of guns available to the public with this ban in action. Some of the deadliest ones are still able, maybe because of their intended use for hunting or sporting. The U.S. has had a national assault weapon ban before. When President Biden was a senator, he helped pass the last national assault weapon ban in 1994, when lawmakers failed to renew it in 2004. The first assault weapon ban in 1994 was not successful for a number of different reasons. And this is why it failed to be renewed in the following years when this ban expired. According to Vox.com/politics, they have stated that the impacts of the 1994 assault weapon ban have failed to reduce the average number of victims per gun murder incident or multiple gunshot wound victims. This research also shows that the final assault weapon ban triggered unpredictable price increases, as well as an increase in production of the banned firearms prior to the law's implementation, followed by a substantial post-ban drop in prices, making these firearms still obtainable by many citizens. To reduce criminal use of guns and tragic consequences of such use, a ban must make the existing stockpile of guns less accessible to criminals. Over the long term, however, the stockpile weapons might begin flowing into criminals' hands through straw purchases, thefts, or off-the-book sales that dealers or speculators falsely report into insurance companies and government officials as thefts. So far in 2023, 11,523 people have died from gun violence in the U.S. As stated on Statistica.com, handguns are the most common weapon type used in mass shootings in the United States. This is with a total of 161 different handguns being used in 111 incidents between 1982 and April 2023. These figures have been calculated from a total of 142 reported cases over this board, meaning handguns are involved in about 78% of mass shootings. Handguns include pistols, revolvers, derringers, and other unspecified semi-automatic handguns. It's worth noting that while assault weapons may be commonly used with mass shootings, handguns are actually used more frequently in these types of incidents. In conclusion, handguns are just as deadly, so why aren't we banning them as well for this new 2023 ban when some of the firearms that are not in the ban are just as deadly as the ones that are? First, we have the Virginia Beach shooting in 2019. From ABC News, this shooter used a .45 caliber handgun, a Glock 21, and a .45 caliber handgun fitted with a suppressor to carry out the attack that left 12 people dead and several others injured. In the Virginia Tech shooting, as stated on the History Channel, the shooter used two handguns, a 9mm Glock 19 and a .22 caliber Walther P22 to carry out the attack that left 32 people dead and 17 others injured. The Pulse nightclub shooting in 2016, from USA Today, the shooter used a Sig Sauer MCX rifle, which was not considered an assault weapon because it's designed for hunting and sporting usage, as well as a 9mm Glock handgun. And this had 49 people killed, 53 injured at a gay nightclub. Tucson shooting in 2011, as stated on Arizona Daily Star, the shooter used a 9mm Glock handgun to carry out the attack that left 6 people dead and 13 others injured.
Time. Good job. All right.